Yes, thank you very much for this very nice presentation, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you for Dominic. And as you mentioned, so I work in Poitiers in this laboratory mobility, aging, vieillissement, and exercise. And if you take the acronym, it's MOVE, which is a good name for a lab belonging to sports sciences faculty. So today I'm going to speak about whole body cryostimulation, cryotherapy on sleep in the context of exercise recovery. And I'm mainly using the word cryostimulation instead of cryotherapy, especially when we work with athletes. They are very much in health, and it's more a stimulation than a therapy. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that the recovery in many instances is the key of success. Of course, you need to train hard to perform, but you need also to recover before the next load and the next recovery, and you need to adapt with the compatible cycles of loading and recovery. If the recovery is not good enough or long enough, so you will reduce your ability to accept loads, and you will have increased susceptibility to injury. And concerning recovery, you need to consider recovery time. You need to consider hydration, rehydration, nutrition, and sleep. And you may use also technique for improving your recovery. There are different techniques, and today we are going to concentrate on cryotherapy, cryostimulation, with the use of cryo chamber or cryo cabins. Here you have an example of a cryo chamber where people are exposed at minus 110 Celsius degrees. Here you have when you go to the chamber, so you have to be somehow equipped with a surgical mask. You have to prepare extremity to protect extremities like ears, hands, and feet. The thermal probes are in option. Short remarks. So this picture has some kind of historical value. It was taken at the Rauma Hospital in Heinola. At the time, they had still an hospital and a cold chamber there. So you're ready to go to the chamber, and you go there and you stay there for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending on the protocols. And of course, when you are exposed to minus 110, you may wonder whether it's comfortable or not. In Finland, you are used to this avanto-uinti. So we have compared whether it's more comfortable or less comfortable than avanto-uinti. And we asked people after the cold exposure how they feel with using this very simple scale, and 0, it's about neutral. And well, it's slightly cooler than swimming in ice cold water, and you can adjust also with repeated stimulation, cold stimulation. So if you have 3 cold exposure per week during 12 weeks, so at the end of the 12 weeks when you are out of the cold chamber, so you have a somehow neutral feeling about the temperature. These were the works of Tarja Westerlund, Johannes Molander, and Maria Mikkelsen, and it was published something like 20 years ago in Journal of Thermal Biology. So here you have this chamber that I also already presented, and the cooling system is through a series of compressors. Here on the right-hand side, you may reach some cooler temperature, but the technology is slightly different, and the head is not exposed, and it's using the vaporization of liquid fluids like nitrogen. And the system is quite compact, and you can even put it in lorries to follow, for instance, the stages of Tour de France. and you need to have a small wagon because you need to carry the bottles of nitrogen, liquid nitrogen. There are some other chambers which are available also, and this is the chamber we have nowadays in Poitiers. So the chamber doesn't reach that low temperature. It's about -50, -60, but there is a ventilation. So the feeling you get is a bit similar of this -110. I'm going to share with you some recent data, and these data that have been collected by Coralie Arcochagnot, and we have been working on the effect of repeated cryostimulation exposures on sleep quality in swimmers during intense training period, and we have also studied the effect of repeated cryostimulation exposure on sleep and wellness in healthy young adults, and the effectiveness of cryostimulation on sleep and recovery in male athletes, considering the timing exposure, the time of the exposure in the evening. So we have had the opportunity in the context of the Olympic Games preparation to work with the national team of the French swimmers, and we have been working with them, and I will present what we have been doing on that topic. So those people, they have to stand very intensive training, and our aim was to monitor their fatigue, and if they have an accumulation of fatigue, and if the recovery is inappropriate, the performances will be decreasing. So among the possibilities for the technique of recovery, we use these cold exposures, and we concentrated on inflammatory system, autonomic nervous system, sleep quality, and thermoregulation. Sleep quality is really a cornerstone of the recovery because it affects metabolism, hormonal system, cognitive processes, and immune system. Here, I just remind you the different stages of the sleep cycle with rapid eye movement, and then this non-rapid eye movement sleep, where you have the light sleep and deeper sleep. And in the deeper sleep, so you have the slow wave sleep, which mainly occur in the first circle of the night, and it's very important time for recovery. It helps physical recovery process, the growth hormone release, and tissue repair. Then you have the paradoxal sleep, which is also of importance because the muscle tone is at its lowest, and it has very much importance for memorization processes. So our first study that I'm going to present was to evaluate the effects of daily cryostimulation and sleep quality in elite swimmers. Most of them, they belong to the French national team. And so we had those 23 people, and we studied them during 2 weeks of intense training, and it was a crossover protocol, and each subject was its own control. And so there was 1 week with cryo and 1 week without cryo, and we balanced it, so there was no problem with the order of the exposure. So to explain what we did, so we explain here from one day how they behave. So they had the training in the early or late afternoon, then they went to the cryo or not, and then there was some saliva specimen collected, and we were able to analyze the sleep during the night, and there were also sleep questionnaire, which were that the subject wrote. And here were our devices that you use. We use heart rate monitor. We had a dream headband for cerebral activity recording. We took some specimens, questionnaires for pursuit sleep quality and for the mood. We were also measuring core body temperature, and we are also accelerometers for measuring nocturnal movements. If the person doesn't move very much, it seems that they sleep better. So what have we got out? So there was no much changes in sleep agitation and no much changing concerning perceived sleep quality. With using this headband, we were able to notice that the slow wave sleep were increased after when using the cryo. We were also able to show that there was an improved mood after repeated cryo exposures. And we were able to show that we reduced quite dramatically the CRP, which is a marker of inflammation. You can see that in the control group, the CRP were quite high. And we noticed some few changes also with melatonin concentration. When people were experienced the cryo, so after the cryo and during the night, so the body core temperature was lower, which may be something of importance for sleeping better. So with this first work, so we were able to conclude that the repeated cryo exposure in the evening after a really intense training in top level athletes, were able to increase deep sleep duration, improve mood, reduce systemic inflammation, and reduce body core temperature. The second work that we are reporting here was with healthy volunteers, and we studied a series of cryo exposure performed at 7 o'clock in the evening, as in the previous study. Basically, they were healthy active subjects, mainly our students. Again, it was a crossover protocol where each person served at its own control. And we had a line with the cryo, and the one was the control. And what we were able to show was that we had a better sleep quality, a better mood, and a longer, deep, slow wave sleep. Third study was about the timing. When should the cryo be organized? After the training or just before the bedtime? So we organized the study and we evaluated the effects of cryo stimulation to improve sleep and recovery, and at what time is the most appropriate, which time is the most appropriate for experiencing the cryo. So we had high-level athletes, and again, it was a crossover protocol, and again, we had each subject as its own control, and they had the cryo, whether at 7 p.m. or 10 p.m. 7 p.m. was after the training. And again, we had similar apparatus to measure different things that we were measuring. And we obtained somehow that the use of cryo tended to decrease the DOMS perception. We saw, as previously, that there was an increase in nocturnal parasympathetic control, and it was higher when the cryo was performed at 10 p.m. We didn't found any changes concerning the sleep agitation and fragmentation, and we didn't see any different sleep pattern in each condition. Concerning the temperature, when using the cryo at 10 p.m., we show that the body core temperature was lower during the night when it was done early before bedtime, just before bedtime. This is the same illustration as before. So our conclusion was that the WBC was effective to reduce DOMS in the perception of DOMS in the morning for following the intense training session, and the WBC performed 1 hour before bedtime is more likely to stimulate recovery processes. This study was organized during winter time, and it was quite at variance between our previous study done about the same design, which was done during the summertime. And in this previous study, we were able to see that the 3-minute cryotherapy, cryostimulation after the training in the evening improved subjective and objective sleep quality in athletes. And the mechanism was through an improved parasympathetic nervous activity during the 2 first slow wave sleep periods during the night. So in conclusion, we showed that cryostimulation had effects on perceived recovery. We had an increase, or systematically we had an increase in the parasympathetic activation with the exposure, and it was even higher if the exposure was later or shorter before bedtime. Clearly, there was an effect on the sleep architecture, and we wonder whether the core temperature has an impact, especially during summertime, and with an influence on the sleep quality. If you want to learn a bit more about whole body cryostimulation, we have released with our friend Paolo Capodaglio a book concerning whole body cryostimulation and its clinical application. And well, I wish to thank you for your attention